This is Juxtaposition. Welcome. I'm your host. I'm the executive director of the Vermont Racial Justice Alliance. My name is Reverend Mark Hughes, and welcome to the show, a program about issues affecting black folks and black folks affecting change. For those who are joining us this evening, we're glad that you're joining us for episode 4. I can't believe it. I wanted to do this program in a way where we were doing it every other week, and I can't even hardly keep up with it every other month. But I'm so glad to be here this evening. I'm glad that you were able to join us this evening. We're going to be talking about walking in power. Are we walking in power today? And this is a conversation that I'm so pleased to have had the opportunity to invite my wife. Christine Hughes is right here in the house with us right here. Christine co-founded Uncommon Alliance, the first grassroots local effort to initiate race data collection with the local police department. How'd that work out for you?
Hey, we got something started.
Principal of New Seasons Vermont, director of Kaleo. I mean, come on, should I keep reading? Served as the first chair of the Racial Disparities in the Criminal and Juvenile Justice System Advisory Panel. Created the Workforce Development Program in the Burlington CJC as a contractor for a dozen years, 12 years a slave. And most recently, she served as the senior employment consultant for hireability. Hireability, what is hireability, Christine?
And Weber.
Weber, okay.
Hireability is a...
Voc Rehab.
Yeah, it's an organization that was formerly known as Voc Rehab.
Right on. So welcome to the show. Been there for the last 4 years. And now I'm hearing rumors, the director of the Richard Kemp Center?
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to have my wife. And I've got, looky here, Rajni Edens in the house with me. Over here, right here to my left, Rajni Edens. The struggles are real here. Rajni, my boy he's the original Seattle, Washington spoken word poet, MC in the house, and teaching artist. Rajni has been engaging diverse community audiences for 27 years. There were no child labor laws during that time. He was the youngest member of the African Writers Alliance at the age of 11 years old and has been actively sharing with youth in the community and in Vermont since 2010. Rajni, first of all, I love you. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
I love you too. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. The struggles and the advances of black folks throughout our national history of slavery and its current legacy have infused in our DNA an indisputable resilience. Realizing the untapped power that exists in us is a life-altering awakening. It is liberating, it is exhilarating, it is infectious. It is our challenge to walk in this power, and also more importantly, to cultivate it in others. As we're joined today, what we want to do is just have a conversation about that power. So often, Rajni, in my life, I look back and I think about the things I was doing before I realized the power that I was actually walking in. Can you feel me? Mm-hmm. Before I realized that power that I was actually, created to walk in, I should say my divine appointment is kind of the way we speak of it, those of us who are God-led. But, can you, share with us maybe a little bit about that transition? I mean, if it's too personal, I understand that. But when you began to move from that place in your life, I just jumped right in there, didn't I? You began to move from that place in your life to where you began to realize what your walk really was, where your power really was, and maybe we can talk about how some of that has impacted you today.
Yes, I think that very early on in my life, I felt a strong connection to our ancestors, and that a crucial part of my craft was listening to their voices and letting that be infused into what I was expressing and creating. Mm-hmm. So I've always felt that strong connection, but I think maybe it was probably about 3 years ago when I made that necessary transition to walk fully and to do my purpose full time. Just dealing with so much different systemic racism and microaggressions in my profession and in public community, it seemed like the writing was on the wall that I would either have to submit and alter myself to acclimate and try to conform to make people feel more comfortable, and which would of course lessen myself and not be being true to my spirit, or I would have to like fully unleash my potential and spread my wings and trust that the wind would catch me. And I'm so glad I made that choice.
So are we.
Trust the wind will catch you. Christine, same question to you when you start to think about, walking in your divine appointment and realizing the power in your life, that transition.
I think it's a continuous thing. I don't think any of us are really done doing that until we take our last breath. But I do think that the process of moving closer to that, has a lot to do in a similar way. I mean, I think we all share that decision making of, am I going to work for some, organization or some industry so that I can survive and pay my rent and eat, and then making that transition to believing that if you do, if you're working at whatever your passion is, that, in my case, that I believe in a God that is going to provide for me, and especially when what I'm setting out to do is something that isn't just about me, and it's not just about my bank account or my pocket. It's about making the world around me, and even the world on a bigger scale, a better place for everyone, and in particular youth, that are coming up, my own children and all of our children, in a place, especially right now, where the need just seems to be growing and growing because of everything that they're facing. Racism and a whole bunch of other isms that it's, us as adults and people with gifts really have a responsibility to be making sure that the world is a better place. And, I grew up in a household and with parents that taught that lesson. So, sometimes some of us are a little slow on the uptake, but I'm getting there,
Well, we passed your dad in the hall coming in.
Right.
Mr. Richard Kemp.
That's right.
So there it is. The thing, though, about what we're discussing is what it suggests is that we do something different, that we actually step outside of something that is status quo, that's like the existing paradigm, that we talk a lot about social capital, we talk a lot about our livelihood, where we're going to work, where we're going to eat. Talk about that. How does this tie in, Rajni? How does this tie in to the decisions that you made, and what are some of the things you had to struggle with when you decided to do things different?
Well, I had to think about my own children and the children that I serve, just recognizing that if I stuck around and sacrificed my integrity to still receive a paycheck, just to have something that's more dependable, then I'd also be sacrificing a crucial part of myself and not fully honoring how I could positively affirm the youth and being themselves. I'd actually be teaching them that it's more right to do what's expediently convenient than to do what's morally sound and what's true to your heart and true to your spirit. And I just couldn't jibe with that. I
couldn't get down with that.
Yeah, I was like, I can't have my daughter grow up in this place and looking up like, who's this guy? Like, he talk big, but he don't really walk out what he say. What happened to all that talk? you know.
right.
But it's that we're going to honor the things that we say, and that we know this comes from a spiritual place, and that we're honoring our ancestors, the people who came before, whose shoulders we stand on, who made the utmost sacrifices for us to be here, still alive to breathe. Then we have to endeavor to be good ancestors for those next to come, and to trust that there's a spirit that will sustain us, even when we don't necessarily know the route immediately.
We don't know the route immediately, Christine. What is that? Is there a certain amount of risk then? Are we talking, you know, is there a gamble in this thing? When we start looking at this status quo or the paradigm that we're living in, this, you know, whether we want to call it capitalism or whether we want to call it, you know, colonialism, or, you know, whatever we want to, this framework that seems to have been oppressive for the last 400 or so years, when we decide to step outside of that, or maybe rise ourselves above it and realize our true resilience and our true power, does it feel like that's kind of risky?
Yes, absolutely. And it probably has something to do with what I was saying to you on the way over, Rajni, about how I had been talking about excuse me, making the transition from the vocation that I've been in for decades, really, and working for other organizations, and making the transition to doing something that, you know, because of your leadership and because of a lot of collective community energy and a need, you know, we stood up the Kemp Center, and making that transition, there's definitely a risk. There's, you know, I was telling Rajni, like, I'm spending time at the center, and there is mixed emotions. You know, some of it is anxiety. There's a ton of excitement, you know, a lot of positive feeling. I feel freer than I did a couple of weeks ago. And I feel like, you know, the purpose that can be served by all of us, you know, I mean, in my role as a director, but also, you know, as we draw people in and stand up different programming, there's just so much potential.
Absolutely.
And so I think those kind of risks, what it requires is courage.
It requires courage and faith.
Faith.
I know if take a look at this slide right here, this whole business about what we're doing with First African Landing Day that's coming up. I'm excited to talk about that tonight, because the theme of it is we walk this far by faith. We walk this far by faith, and that was that old hymnal that was a processional when we were children, when our choirs walked in to the church. Of course, we're talking about the Christian faith. There are many faiths, but we're talking right now about the Christian faith. We're talking about how for generations, for indeed centuries, our people have held on to, as it has informed, the faith has informed this journey that we have taken. Indeed, I can say for sure that a lot of the progress that I've made in my own life, in moving and transitioning and stepping out, in breaking away from status quo and embracing that which seemed impossible, and that in fact seems that fly don't go away, is going to be a problem. Because you remember when the fly on what's his name's head, right? On Pence's head, right? Remember? Okay.
We're not gonna
all right,
talk
let's
about
get
that.
back at this. Okay. So, but the point here is just simply there is a lot that goes into that. So I just want to do this really quick plug. Yeah, that's right. So we do have. We've come this far by faith. 27th of August over in Intervale Center. You can almost throw a rock from here. Look at this. You got Bishop Cortez Vaughn. He's going to be there. What's that song he sing? You deserve it. Right, remember that? Plattsburgh State Gospel Choir's here. ABK is coming in with Rodney Patterson. That was the founding pastor of New Alpha Missionary Baptist Church. I know Floyd will come in with him, his son. There's Bishop Dwayne Royster, who's the keynote speaker. A lot of the organizations that I'm not going to name y'all, so don't get embarrassed, but a lot of y'all didn't want to support this. There's a lot of folks this year we've come, we've asked, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, like this is the first year we ever done it. Don't play with us. This is the 4th year we've done it. Just say no. That's fine. We'll go on. We're going to do it anyway. But we're going to do this. It's going to be an Intervale. There's going to be a wellness space. There's also going to be food by Empress. Empress, bring the food, honey. So I'll just get that on your radar. For those of you, you can take that down now. You can just get that on your radar for those of you who want to come out. I want to just switch over real quick. Oh, before I do that, there's one other slide. You're going to love this slide. Take a look at this one right here. Do you recognize this one, Rosny? Look at this. Who's holding that?
Oh, that's me.
So, do we have that up? Are folks seeing that? Are folks seeing that? That slide? Are we having problems with it?
She said, yeah.
Okay. All right. So that is the poetry experience. Yeah, I'm gonna get a plug in. So that is the poetry experience. It's a local writing. So you can see that. That's the second and fourth Saturday. Don't forget, the second and fourth Saturday, be gathering at Fletcher Library from 1 to 3. The Fletcher Library. Put the camera on Rajni. Don't put it on me. So the second and fourth Saturday from 1 to 3. So just be there, spread the word out, invite people, poets, writers, teachers, MCs, show up. Please show up. Please show up at this one right here because this is a lot of fun. I haven't, admittedly and transparently, I haven't been there yet, but I'm going to come out and start supporting that. So I wanted to get after that. You can take that down now. Divine appointment. I want to talk about divine appointment just for a little bit as we continue this conversation because I believe divine appointment is about walking in the way in which we were called to walk. And what I mean by that is being in position, if you know what I'm talking about. My mother used to joke with me. She said, son, when the rapture comes, if you're not where God said you're supposed to be, you're going to get missed. And I used to laugh about that. And I don't know, maybe there's some truth to it, but the point I'm making is the key to our lives in a lot of ways is that we're in the right place at the right time so we can do the right thing. So I'm wondering, Rajni, I know you've been in Vermont since what, 2010? 2010? You reside here in Burlington. You've got a lot of great stuff going on. I know you're back and forth from the West Coast now. You are blowing up. I'm glad that I know you because, well, I'll put it this way, don't forget me.
Don't forget the little people.
On your way up, don't forget me, all right?
Never.
But is this it? Are you walking in your divine appointment? Is this your calling? And what does that mean to other people? How do we pull other people forward in this?
Yeah, I believe I am. I think when you stand in conviction, in the strength of the spirit of what calls you forth, which brings you a passionate energy and inspiration, that you something that you feel at home in, that replenishes you and uplifts you and nourishes you and nurtures you and gives you a deeper sense of meaning in the world. I feel like that's a revitalizing force.
No doubt.
And being able to model that and walk in that power and share that with others is a catalyzing force. I was sharing some of my daughter's poetry with Christine.
I heard you when I came in.
And she'll probably see this and be like, oh, my dad's quoting me. But she has a line in her poem that says, songs that inspire us to be fly highers.
Nice.
And she breaks it down.
How old is she?
She's 10.
Come on.
Yeah, she's a force. So she says that the songs that we sing basically allow people to be inspired to do great things, you know. And when the people who inspires others aspire to do great things, it's a domino effect. It's a reverberating energy that is so infectious that many people can take that on and demonstrate their purpose in like-minded fashion.
Yeah, walking in a divine appointment. For those who are joining us, I'm joined by Rajni Edens and Christine Hughes, my wife here. We're talking about this whole idea of walking in power. And sometimes it's hard to get your head around because, folks say, what do you mean walking in power? And, don't you feel like in some ways when the shackles start coming off, when you start seeing, well, wait a minute, I don't have to relegate myself or subject myself to this system that has been oppressing me. What I can do is I can just, through my natural skills and abilities, my wisdom and my knowledge, and by the guidance of the Most High God, I can walk a different path and wake up in the morning and feel better each day. I can go to sleep feeling better every night, and I can have a positive impact on myself, my life, my people, and those who will stand on my shoulders. Christine, position. Talk to me about being in position. Are you in position today? Do you feel more in position
I do. I believe that I am. And I also just, I do believe that I'm in position. And I'm, like I said before, it's a continuous process of like, really standing in that position with confidence and with, power. And I think one of the things about that word power, especially in our country and in our culture, I think all of us, when our first response to power is, you think about like, this country is often called like the most powerful country on the planet and everything, but that is behind some things that we're not talking about that power.
Yeah,
So even when you talk about the power of love or the power of peace, it's a bigger power,
right,
and it's like an eternal power.
Yeah.
So those, I think it's important to separate that and be very clear about the kind of power that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it even makes me think of people who, many of our leaders even came out of the church, and churches were often places where people were organizing, and the whole model of peaceful resistance and peaceful protest, the power that is in that is the kind of power that we're talking about.
That's the kind of power we're talking about, absolutely. Let's take a look at this slide right here. I want to talk to you a little bit about just Proposal 2. I got to talk about abolishing slavery. Got to talk about abolishing slavery. It's like a perfect context to talk about. You know what I mean? It feels like, I remember years ago we started to talk about this, and people were like, what are you talking about? And there are going to be many people who tune into this, and they're going to be like, I have no idea what they're talking about, and they're going to keep it moving. But there's going to be one or two, and somebody's going to stop, and they're going to say, wait a minute, these guys are on to something. These guys are on to something. And that's okay. That's all we need is just one or two. But for those who are watching, abolish slavery. What we have here is there is a campaign that's in full swing. Go to, where you at? There you are. So abolish slavery. Go to abolishslaveryvt.org. Go now. I know you got your phone, so go to abolishslaveryvt.org. And what you're going to see is an opportunity, watch this, to join the 2.0 launch campaign in about 13 minutes. It starts in 13 minutes, the 2.0 launch. It's all virtual, it's online, it's Zoom. So if you don't go and register and get on there now, and I know you, I'm gonna talk about you, because it's just, you got your computer right in front of you. So go ahead and do that. Look at here, so we've got a couple things here. Oh, by the way, with that campaign, you're gonna have plenty of opportunity to help us, because we've got our our primaries in the rearview mirror. So that PR2 thing, that proposal to, let's be clear, this is a proposal to prohibit slavery and indentured servitude without exception here in the state of Vermont. Why? Because it is permitted in Article 1 of our Constitution. I know this is a lot for you. You're probably just as blown away as you were on the previous segment, but it is true. For those who can handle it, just go ahead and pull the Constitution up on your phone right now and go to Article 2 and take the 23 seconds that it takes to find it when you read through the Constitution, because it's been there for 245 years, okay? So that's what we're doing. These are the books of Rajnee's. Rajnee, as there are two, you should get both of them, okay? I'm gonna be honest again. I just bought this one. I think it set me back a penny, and I'm not getting rid of it. No, this one's not mine. This is his. But this one just hot off the press. Show up. I got a couple of other things for Rajnee, as far as by the way, this is, their names are mine, and this one here is in the coded language of this mortal tongue. I just want to ask one quick question before we move on, because I got a couple of other things. But Rajnee, what inspired you on the name of that second book?
I think that comes from recognizing that we have a tendency to change the way we speak, right, in different areas. So there's a certain connotation to the coded language of code switching. You know what I mean?
Well, by golly, why don't you just tell me what the heck you're talking about there?
But it also speaks kind of metaphorically to kind of the theme of the show too, the standing in your power, how we have a certain coding based on our historical ancestral experiences and the spiritual ways that we've been imbued.
Pull that slide up while he's talking, please.
So in the coded language of this mortal tongue, it's like a part of us that's mortal, yeah, that's finite, but there's a part of us that's eternal, that lives through this vessel, that gets to speak in a certain way that only we uniquely can express.
Yes, I got it. For some odd reason, we are, I don't think we were looking at the slide I wanted to see, but if you can try it again, though, in the booth, that's the Black Artist Showcase. Coded language, is that something that you grew up with here? I'm not going to tell on you, but I must say it. You've been here for 49 years.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's, you know, back to the theme of power, there's a lot of power in the language that we speak and the language that we respond to. I just published something recently called Stop Calling Me Names, because, you know, even the term BIPOC is something that I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry, everybody. I know it's really convenient for you, and it's the latest term that you're going to call all people that aren't white. I don't respond to that. I don't believe in that, and I didn't ask anybody to give me a new name. So I think language and how what language we use and what language we respond to and how we respond to it is critically important, and it's easy to overlook.
Real easy, real easy. Yeah, the Black Artist Showcase on that slide I was trying to get up a little bit ago. I just want to let you know that it's going to be at the Kemp Center.
Yeah.
It's going to be at the Kemp Center. I've been waiting for the Black Artist Showcase to come to the Kemp Center since 1943. So Rosny has agreed to bring the Black Artist Showcase today. I'm so excited.
That's
so
a
I'm going to
win.
be there tomorrow. You ought to be there tomorrow at 6. If you ain't there tomorrow, I'm going to talk about you again, of course. Show up there. Is that your daughter on that slide? Was that your daughter?
Oh, no.
No, that's somebody else.
Yeah.
So we talked a little. The other thing too is the movies at the library. So Rosny is doing a lot of this stuff. He's mixing it up in community with us. Okay, so make sure, look at that slide there. Just mixing it up at the library, making sure that you're just showing up and being present. Couple comments about the films that you're showing right now.
Oh, yes. So for this summer, we've been showing a series of films from Melvin Van Peebles and his son Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah.
So the first one was Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song that came out in the early 70s. And then he basically made a film about a brother who protected another community member from police brutality. And then it never shows him escape. It never shows him caught. So that was groundbreaking, because there'd never been a film that showed a revolutionary without being brought to, you know, white supremacist justice.
Can we bring popcorn over there?
Sure can.
Okay. Can we bring chicken?
Sure.
I'm just checking,
Why
right?
not?
I mean, I'm just asking. I'm
But you-
gonna
go
bring
too
some
far.
chicken.
Whatever you enjoy.
I'm gonna bring some chicken. Last slide. Just as we're getting ready, we're gonna take. Rosny, I'm so glad you joined. And honey, I am so you're coming back. As a matter of fact, I'm not doing this by myself again. So you're gonna be sitting with me. As a matter of fact,
Don't say it.
I might be stepping back a little bit. So this is it, you know, Walking in Power, Juxtaposition. I'm so glad that y'all joined. Those of you who are watching, thank you for joining Juxtaposition. I'm your host, the Executive Director of Vermont Racial Justice Alliance, Mark Hughes. This is where we shake it up. This is where we keep it real. Juxtaposition, a program about issues affecting black folks and black folks affecting change. Have a good evening, folks.